Hear that? It's holiday cheer arriving at Ulta Beauty with gifts for everyone on your list. Treat them to fan-favorite gift sets from Charlotte Tilbury and Peach and Lily. Go all out with timeless fragrances from YSL, Ariana Grande, and Carolina Herrera. And you can never go wrong with an Ulta Beauty gift card. Head to Ulta Beauty for gifts that make the holidays brighter and even more beautiful. Ulta Beauty. Gifting happens here. Ulta Beauty's big holiday beauty sale is back with up to 50% off must-have gifts. Shop irresistible deals like the Shark Beauty Flex Style and Benefit Cosmetics travel size mascaras. With new offers weekly, same-day pickup or delivery, and our trusted associates, we make holiday shopping effortless. Head into Ulta Beauty today. Ulta Beauty. Gifting happens here.
Third Love makes better bras, period. Third Love was founded by women who were tired of settling for bras that were just good enough. Each piece is made with the highest quality materials to solve for the fit issues so many of us face. Get extra lift, smooth out back spillage, and so much more. All in over 60 sizes from AA to H. They even have exclusive half cup sizes, which means if you're in between sizes, you can get the perfect fit every time. Stop settling for average bras and get solutions made for your body. Get $15 off your purchase at thirdlove.com with code PODCAST15. Third Love, your best fit awaits.
If you're a smoker or vapor ready to make a change, you really only need one good reason. But with Zyn nicotine pouches, you'll discover many good reasons. Zyn is America's #1 nicotine pouch brand. Plus, Zyn offers a robust rewards program. There are lots of options when it comes to nicotine satisfaction. But there's only one Zyn. Check out zyn.com/find to find Zyn at a store near you. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
This is the Daily Tech News for Friday, December 5th, 2025. We tell you what you need to know. We give you important context. We try to help you understand.
Today, Perplexity gets sued by news companies while Meta makes peace with them.
And Netflix is on its way to owning Harry Potter and Game of Thrones. But not me. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm into it now.
Let's start with what you need to know with the big story. The fight between makers of generative models and chatbots against news publishers continues as one of both war and peace. We start with the war side. The New York Times is suing Perplexity for copyright infringement due to crawling the New York Times website without permission and allegedly outputting New York Times stories in verbatim or near verbatim written responses. Times also alleges that Perplexity damaged the Times brand by creating false content attributed to the Times. So it's saying, and sometimes Perplexity just hallucinated things, but said we wrote it when we didn't. The Chicago Tribune also filed a similar suit against Perplexity. Both these suits refer to Perplexity's chatbots and browsers as Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG products. So there's a new acronym for you. Perplexity does have agreements with publishers, including Gannett, Time, Fortune, and the LA Times. It also offers a revenue sharing plan where it allocates 80% of its $5 monthly fee for the Comet browser to participating publishers. So Perplexity is going to argue like, hey, you could get in on this if you wanted to. So that is actually similar to a lot of lawsuits going on against OpenAI, some of them from the New York Times. On the peace side of this, Meta said it had reached deals with several publishers, including USA Today, People, so not just People magazine, but all the magazines that People Inc. makes, CNN, Fox News, The Daily Caller, Washington Examiner, and Le Monde, probably the biggest French language newspaper in Europe and one of the biggest in Europe overall. The multi-year agreements let Meta's chatbots use those licensed sources to provide real-time answers to questions about news, as well as links to those sources. So if I'm in a chatbot from Meta and I ask about what's going on today, it might include information from Le Monde and USA Today and then give me links back to stories from both of those sources. Meta had already reached a deal with Reuters to do this as well, and it hopes to add more news outlets. These deals will show up in Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger.
That sounds like a pretty good. I mean, this is such an interesting time because it, obviously very new landscape. People are trying to figure out what, copyright boundaries and also how to monetize this. The Meta thing just seems very practical to me. I guess that's so interesting to see like the differing strategies or just like the differing battles going on right now. I don't know. I'm just aghast at how reasonable Meta's approach is right now. And again, like, and I kind of wonder, I mean, I don't know enough about AIs to know this, whether kind of just being more direct and having licensed sources as well as links to those sources improves the fidelity or at least the reliability of those sources over maybe what Perplexity is doing with the crawling and whether, and I mean, maybe and I missed it, whether their agreements with the publishers does include that very specific licensing and whether that kind of improves again their results and maybe that would improve the brand perception. I don't know, like it's just very different sides of the scale.
Yeah, everybody's doing it a little differently. So it is confusing because, you can't use all these sources all the time. I totally get that. I do think that Perplexity's deals with like Gannett and the LA Times are similar to what Meta is striking here. And we do seem to have two classes of behavior showing up. Yeah. One is what Meta is doing and what Perplexity is doing and what OpenAI is doing and Anthropic is doing as well, which is reaching a deal with the sources to say, you give us access to your stuff, we'll make sure that we pay you and give you traffic back. That is huge for the publishers. They need the money and they need the traffic because the traffic they can also turn into money. But like I think you said something that I found really interesting, which is sort of increasing the fidelity of news. Mm-hmm. One of the arguments, about the decline in trust in news and the spread of misunderstanding has to do with the fact that you can't immediately tell by looking whether a source is reliable or not. And some people still fall for the idea like, well, if somebody posted it if it shows up in a search engine, it must be reliable news. And that is definitely not true. It might be, it might not. It's interesting to think of these deals turning these chatbots into a place where you will get better quality news because it's limited to what it can license. It's the return of a gatekeeper as well, but that does improve your understanding of the world around you if that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it seems to address some of the issues which I think are that I personally am just I think they give me the most trepidation about this current age of AI is that people generally tend to take what a chatbot gives you at face value. I mean, I know there are a lot of us that are skeptical, big ones sitting right here, but that generally because we have learned to trust things like Google and other places, but we don't have that same mechanism of seeing very specific, very discrete results. We just have like a thing that the computer turns out for you. We have this sort of like, I think I'd average a built-in trust. So that is kind of unfortunately being broken, I guess one might say, with LLMs in particular. And so I actually had a conversation with a friend of mine out of there. He was telling me about the Kessler effect, which is the idea that eventually, because of all this satellites and space junk that results from like broken satellites or like decommissioned satellites, that eventually we won't be able to get any more satellites up into low Earth orbit. And so there's like a kind of like an interesting, maybe sci-fi argument there that eventually because of our space-faring plans, we might not actually get there because of not cleaning up the junk. And I kind of felt like AI slop might be becoming the Kessler effect of the internet because with all of the erroneous, made up, fabricated information, it's getting that much harder to pick out the actual good information. So I feel like I would like a source. Let's go back to high school and get like bibliographies and what's this, MLA 4, like whatever, all that stuff. Like,
MLA style. Yeah.
MLA style. All that was a good idea. And maybe just feel like time is a flat circle and we're having.
I'm with you. Like, I wonder if the solution to the slop is the creator of the slop, right?
Yes.
If we keep going down this road where chatbots are like, okay, when you ask about news, I'm only going to use the sources I have an agreement with. Yeah. Suddenly, the chatbot itself becomes a better source than the general internet where the story could have been created by the chatbot, by somebody else, but you're not getting it directly from the chatbot. So when you go to the chatbot, I don't know, I'm increasingly doubling down on my belief that the future of LLMs anyway will be around tightened narrowed. We have a story coming up that will bear this out. Tightened and narrowed versions of LLMs that are good at similar particular things, and being able to go to Meta and say, I want the news, and Meta hilariously being the one like, okay, but if you want the news, it's not just going to be from the world at large like it is on Facebook. It's going to, from this chatbot, going to be from these sources that we've vetted and verified and have agreements with. That improves information. It's another gatekeeper, and I don't like that because it lowers the entrance into it. You have to be a big company that can come to an agreement. But, it's not an entirely bad thing.
I didn't even think about that before, about broadening people's exposure to different news sources as well, just because it is being served up to them. And again, like I feel like when we go out and search for things, we tend to stay within our own, we can call it echo chambers, but our own realms of experience and preference. But our own bubbles. But then this might be a way, and again, like I get you though, like having a single entity, which is not, which is by definition a profit seeking company, is a little bit icky, but at the same time, the current trend of just, hey, a chatbot is vomiting you some information, let's just take it at face value, is not sustainable. No, so we need to do something, and that maybe the good stories like the Meta side. I'm as someone who is generally a critic of Meta, all these like Meta positive stories we've been talking about lately are kind of surprising. But this is a positive thing, and maybe there is a route there where we can kind of go through this not so great feeling route to a better future, especially when it does come to LLMs. And I agree with you. I think that things like this, it does highlight the truly good uses of LLMs, and maybe focusing them is better than just trying to barf the entire internet to you.
Not all uses are good. I think that's clear, but not all uses are bad. And there can even be a company like Meta that can maybe find a good way to use it. We'll see. All right. Well, DTNS is still made by human beings, us, and is made possible by you, the listener. Thanks to D Laser, Brad, and Kevin Morgan. Thank you, guys.
As a small business owner, you don't have the luxury of clocking out early. Your business is on your mind 24/7. So when you're hiring, you need a partner that works just as hard as you do. That hiring partner is LinkedIn Jobs. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates that you can manage, all in one place. With LinkedIn's new tools, you can write great job descriptions and quickly get your post in front of the right people using deep candidate insights. You can either post your job for free or pay to promote it. Promoted jobs get 3 times more qualified applicants. At the end of the day, what matters most is the quality of your candidates. 72% of small businesses using LinkedIn say it helps them find high-quality hires. And you can boost your reach by adding a hashtag hiring frame to your profile picture to get twice as many qualified candidates. Find out why more than 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/DTNS. That's linkedin.com/DTNS. Terms and conditions apply.
In business, they say you can have better, cheaper, or faster, but you only get to pick 2. What if you could have all 3? You can with Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. OCI is the blazing fast hyperscaler for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs, where you can run any workload for less. Compared with other clouds, OCI costs up to 50% less for compute, 70% less for storage, and 80% less for networking. Try OCI for free at oracle.com/dailytech. Oracle.com/dailytech.
Hear that? It's holiday cheer arriving at Ulta Beauty with gifts for everyone on your list. Treat them to fan-favorite gift sets from Charlotte Tilbury and Peach & Lily. Go all out with timeless fragrances from YSL, Ariana Grande, and Carolina Herrera. And you can never go wrong with an Ulta Beauty gift card. Head to Ulta Beauty for gifts that make the holidays brighter and even more beautiful. Ulta Beauty. Gifting happens here.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Wishing you a very happy half-off holiday, because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. And Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day. Yeah? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
If you're a smoker or vapor, ready to make a change, you really only need one good reason. But with Zyn nicotine pouches, you'll discover many good reasons. Zyn is America's #1 nicotine pouch brand. Plus, Zyn offers a robust rewards program. There are lots of options when it comes to nicotine satisfaction, but there's only one Zyn. Check out zyn.com/find to find Zyn at a store near you. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
There's more we need to know today. Let's get right into the briefs.
All right. Well, speaking about LLMs, scientists at the UK AI Security Institute, MIT, Stanford, Carnegie Mellon, and many other institutions conducted a study of 80,000 participants in the UK to measure how persuasive these large language models can be. So we're going to set up the study for you. So the study included 19 LLMs from major companies to smaller open source models. And so these LLMs were instructed to advocate for or against stances on 707 political issues. So each LLM engaged in a short conversation with paid participants enlisted through a crowdsourcing platform. Each human rated their agreement with the stance being discussed on a scale of 1 to 100, both before and after the conversation. And a control group had conversations with LLMs that were not asked to persuade. So the LLMs that were post-trained on a limited database of successful persuasion dialogues were more successful. And so other factors include knowing personal information about the participant, what their demographics or political beliefs were, had no effect. So that didn't affect like the participants' agreement one way or the other. Psychological manipulation like more reframing or deep canvassing had almost negligible effects. And using multiple psychological tactics made results worse. The most persuasive tactics was using facts and evidence. ChatGPT 4.0 performed the best even when the LLMs unintentionally used factual inaccuracies. Participants were told they would be talking to an AI that would try to persuade them. Paid participants only needed to go through 2 turns of dialogue to get paid, but the average was 7.
Yeah, there's lots of interesting things in here. The good news out of this was targeting you with personal information didn't help.
Right.
So that's good to know.
That's great, yeah.
Because there's a lot of things people jump to the conclusion of like, wow, these companies who know all this stuff about it, they can manipulate everyone to believe whatever they want. And the fact is, no, apparently not. Knowing what my political beliefs, no, didn't have an effect. It's really interesting that facts and evidence were more persuasive than tactics, especially with the facts and evidence weren't true sometimes. Yeah. To me, because my first reaction was like, well, wait a minute. We found out that when you throw facts and evidence at people, that doesn't always work in a human situation. Right. But there's also been studies that the dispassionate way AIs can present information actually works better at persuading people because they don't get all worked up. Their emotions don't show through. So I think it's a combination of like, the dispassionate way, not the psychologically manipulative way, but the dispassionate way is what's persuasive. And so facts and evidence can work there. And things that aren't facts and evidence can work there if they're presented as facts, which is a dangerous aspect of this to be aware of. But it does make me feel a lot better of like, oh no, AI can't just know everything about me and therefore make me think whatever it wants. Right. I have to be careful that if it appears to be being very reasonable and neutral, that it may or may not be telling me true things. But that's all good to know. I thought this was a fascinating study.
Yeah, I wonder to what extent also that having the participants know that the AI was trying to persuade them had any effect at all as well. Just that, or more that it primes people to be like, okay, this is a point being presented to me, so I have to kind of turn on my critical thinking brain as opposed to accepting it. But I think it also goes to what we were saying before about like people, because of that dispassion, because they expect it coming from a machine, they don't get worked up. So they take it, not necessarily at face value, but take it with a very neutral stance. Yeah. But they can take the input and whatever output comes out. I do think that's really interesting. And that is very hopeful that, yes, I like the psychological tactics were like, oh, no, please, no, thank you. Like it made things worse. So that is very hopeful. And I wonder if there's just a way to make sure that, I mean, I guess like we do all around, like when it comes to technology and kind of information seeking, letting people keep their critical thinking caps on is probably the best route. So. Yeah.
And another example of when you had a limited post-training situation where like, okay, this LLM is not going to be great at everything. We want it to be really good at discussing and persuading people. Then it worked better, right? It needed facts and evidence to work the best, but it worked better when it was trained for a specific thing, which I think is another example of that principle at work.
100%.
Sam Mobile and PC World both reporting from sources. So we don't have confirmation from the entities themselves, but sources telling them that Samsung Semiconductor, which makes RAM, rejected an order from Samsung Electronics, which makes phones, for RAM. They're all part of the big old Chabo, same group, but they're different arms. Apparently, Samsung Electronics was trying to lock in prices for RAM, which is smart. But Samsung Semiconductor said, no, with RAM prices skyrocketing the way they are, you're going to need to negotiate your RAM prices quarterly. Sorry. No special treatment for you, brother.
Oh, man, the kids are fighting. The U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, warned that there is a current campaign to infect VMware vSphere servers with the BrickStorm malware. Samples of BrickStorm were discovered on victim networks targeting VMware vSphere servers to create hidden virtual machines to evade detection and steal cloned virtual machine snapshots. CISA advises defenders to scan for BrickStorm activity using CISA's Yara and Sigma rules and block unauthorized DNS over HTTPS providers and external traffic. At Axios AI Plus Summit, Google DeepMind CEO Demis Hassabis warned about the rising danger of AI-driven attacks on infrastructure.
Yeah. And this isn't necessarily an AI-driven attack. It may or may not be. One thing that caught my eye about this, though, is that this is the kind of story that we often hear about later. Like, oh, the BrickStorm has been in these networks and now all this data got exfiltrated. So it's nice to see CISA saying this is starting to happen. Yeah. Shut down your networks now. This could prevent this from being a big story later, right? If companies are able to act on this quickly.
Yeah, proactively.
Finally, some quick headlines that are good to know if you want to understand the news in the future.
All right, well, the European Commission fined X 120 million euros for violating transparency rules of the Digital Services Act, specifically around the blue checkmark verification system, ad repository, and public data for researchers.
The U.S. National Highway and Traffic Safety Administration asked Waymo for details about 19 reported incidents of Waymo autonomous vehicles passing Austin, Texas school buses illegally. Waymo's arguing that they were parked in a way that the Waymo couldn't see the stop sign, but we'll find out. There's 19 incidents of that.
Meta Computing is now offering a third-party mainboard for the Framework Laptop 13 that lets you use an ARM processor instead of the x86 processors provided by Framework.
Hey, that's cool.
Yeah.
More Apple defections. Apple General Counsel Kate Adams and Apple's Vice President for Environmental Policy and Social Initiatives, Lisa Jackson, both announced that they are retiring. The Wall Street Journal has a big old article about all the different executives that have been leaving Apple. John Andrea, for instance, recently. You guys talked about more of them yesterday. And Wall Street Journal adding that dozens of engineers and designers have left Apple to work at OpenAI in the recent months.
Oh, wow. Big shifts. Well, fresh off backing down on requiring an anti-theft app to be pre-installed on phones, India's Department of Telecommunications is considering requiring phones to enable satellite tracking. Apple, Google, and Samsung oppose the mandate.
Keep trying.
Yeah.
Discord entered the year-end wrap-up game, adding Discord Checkpoint, which tells you how much you've chatted with whom and on what servers over the past year. It's like Spotify Wrapped, but for Discord. My number one chatter was apparently Saray TW. Thank you, Saray TW. It's been great chatting with you.
I love it. Now we get to introspect on what our Discord checkpoint says about us as people.
Definitely. Yeah. What's my Discord age? They didn't give me that. Thank goodness.
And NVIDIA's manufacturing partner, Hon Hai, a.k.a. Foxconn, announced revenue rose 26% in November, indicating the bubble is still inflating.
That's right. Whether it'll pop or not, we don't know.
All right. We'll wait and see. But those are the essentials for today. Let's dive a little deeper.
The long-running question of who will own Warner Brothers Discovery is almost answered, and the almost answer is Netflix. Previously on this long-running saga, AT&T spun out Warner Brothers in April 8th, 2022, merging it with Discovery Networks. And since that time, it has been one of the smaller studios that have been expected to either merge with other smaller studios or get acquired by a bigger studio as we head into the consolidation phase of the streaming disruption. Earlier this year, the company announced it was going to split in two to make itself a little more digestible. So there'd be one company that would have the Warner Brothers studio, the one that makes the films, that makes the TV shows, that has all the IP, as well as HBO Max. That would be one company. And then a separate company would have all the cable networks. So your CNNs, your TNTs, all of that. Paramount, which is another of the same class of size of studio as Warner Brothers, had just merged with an even smaller studio, Skydance, and started trying to acquire all of Warner Brothers. It was like, let's become a big one. Let's merge with Warner Brothers. But before it could convince them to sell, Comcast, which owns NBC Universal, and Netflix decided, you know what? We'd also like to bid on this, but we only want the profitable part. We only want the studio and HBO Max. And the news today is that Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders looked at all these offers and said, you know what? We like the Netflix one best. Here is the details on that. The deal is expected to finish after Warner Brothers Discovery completes its split into two companies. So it's going to go ahead with the plan. Warner Brothers Studio and HBO Max in one company, everything else in the other company. Well, not everything else, but, you know, cable networks and all of that. That will have to happen first. Then they'll sell the studio company to Netflix. They expect that to take about 12 to 18 months. So I always like to underline in these stories. Yes, today the news is Netflix is acquiring Warner Brothers Discovery. That won't actually happen to you as a consumer until the earliest December 2026. And possibly not even until May 2027. So this isn't happening today. It's not happening for another year and a half. Netflix is going to pay some cash, $23.30 per share, and $4.50 per share in Netflix stock. So we had heard it was an all-cash offer, but in the end, it ends up being an equivalent cash offer to Paramount's initial offer, but with Netflix stock. So that makes it attractive to Warner Brothers investors because they get to cash out and they get a little stake in a growing company called Netflix, which I don't think is a bad thing. Reuters reports that Paramount had offered $30 a share. So that tells you something where the investor's mindset was. It's like, just getting cashed out on Paramount might not be as good as getting a little bit of Netflix stock. Netflix would get Warner Brothers catalog. So it's going to get everything from Casablanca to Harry Potter. It will not get the cable networks. As I said, those are going to go into a separate company. And now we'll start to figure out who's going to buy that company. That one will have CNN, all the Discovery networks, TNT, etc. And David Zaslav, who is the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery right now, supposedly will stay in charge of this Warner Studio side of the business, which will stay independent under Netflix. So the place that makes the movies and makes the TV shows will stay independent. I assume a lot of those movies and TV shows will go to Netflix, but historically, not all of them. And so Netflix will start to create things for other outlets the way studios normally do. Co-CEO of Netflix, Greg Peters, says they think there's a big opportunity to increase subscribers through HBO Max. He said, and I quote, "We think there's a real opportunity in figuring out how we bring those titles in the right way through some combination of plans, tiering, etc." That indicates that they're thinking right now is HBO might be an add-on to Netflix, or it might even be an independent service from Netflix that they bundle together. They have yet to figure that part out, but it doesn't sound like they're thinking of it as just a tile inside of Netflix. Co-CEO Ted Sarandos said he hoped to make the theater window more consumer friendly. That's the time it takes for a theater to have exclusive rights to show a movie before it comes to streaming. But Sarandos said, right now, you should count on everything that is planned on going to the theaters through Warner Brothers will continue to go to the theaters through Warner Brothers, and Netflix movies will take the same path they have. So they do want to change things, but they're not going to change things right away. And they think that Warner Brothers movies might need to be treated differently from Netflix movies. All of this has to pass regulatory scrutiny. The EU is expected to pass it, but possibly put conditions on the deal. The U.S. is also expected to pass it, but there's a lot of talk out there that David Ellison, the CEO of Paramount Skydance, is going to continue to put pressure on the U.S. to investigate and possibly block the acquisition. There's even some buzz that he might try to come in and do a hostile takeover and subvert this deal, which seems a little more difficult. But Ellison still wants to get this and would like to block Netflix from acquiring this. Okay, that's the details. That's the table setting. I brought on my co-host from Cord Killers, Brian Brushwood, to kind of look at this from the bird's eye view. Brian, you and I have been covering this since before Netflix even knew it wanted Warner Brothers Discovery. What do you make of all of it?
I blame one person for this entire thing, and it's you for last night saying out loud that there is kind of a poetry to the fact that Netflix began by saying, yeah, our playbook is just to be like HBO. And they HBO'd so hard that now they own HBO. Now, there's a couple of different threads, and I'm wondering if we want to close the door on one real fast. What do you think the odds are of this Ellison-powered attempt to, I don't know if you'd call it a hostile takeover, in which case there would be stock buyout, or regulatory capture by using a cozy relationship with the U.S. government, raising the concerns about monopoly with Netflix having too much power. How much of the story do you feel like that merits?
I can't tell for sure. It's obviously nothing because Ellison is a mover and his dad is Larry Ellison, the owner of Oracle, who also has a good relationship with the U.S. administration. They are going to try to do everything they can to put some pressure on this. I don't know what Sarandos and Peters' relationship with the U.S. administration is. I'm guessing that they have done their best to say, hey, come on, be nice to us too. And I do believe that Netflix has a good case to say, as long as we agree to a few conditions, like maybe keeping the prices low for 5 years, maybe keeping the streaming property separate for 10 years, something like that they can get this approved, because Netflix is in a lot fewer businesses than Paramount is. Netflix is in a lot fewer businesses than Comcast is. So they can make the argument like, hey, we're big, but we're just a streamer. And so to compete with the Comcasts and Paramounts of the world, we need to have our own studio. Yeah, Netflix does have a studio, but it's very small. So I think they can make a compelling argument in the courts. There is going to be more resistance to this because theater owners don't like Netflix as much, and because of the relationship of Ellison with the administration. Yeah,
there is the looming shadow of the fact that Netflix mainly pays lip service to the 90-day exclusivity for theater owners, and they have made throat-clearing sounds that they would promise to honor that, but I would expect that they would creep closer and closer to day and date on special circumstances. I do want to point out that there's an interesting comp that becomes possible now that Netflix is acquiring so much IP. Then it starts to, because you were mentioning, how do you fold in HBO Max as a sub-brand or whatever? The first thing that popped into my mind is Disney Plus has navigated very well the 5-6 pillars underneath the Disney Plus brand. So then I began to picture Netflix as similarly having 5 or 6 pillars underneath the Netflix brand. Then I think about the fact that a substantial amount of Disney's revenue comes from the theme parks. And in many ways, the content is sort of a loss leader in order to get butts out to the parks. And likewise, we've seen Netflix begin to do these pop-up events, these themed restaurants. And increasingly, we could be heading to a world where Coke and Pepsi are Disney and Netflix, and then the Royal Crown soda or your Dr. Pepper becomes your Comcasts and Paramounts.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if what Netflix does is trims down HBO Max and says HBO Max is now just HBO. You want HBO? You want just HBO? All you people complaining about like, oh, I don't want to pay for all that. I just want HBO. Great. Here you go. You can get it. You can get just HBO now. And they do their best to really fill that with many movies and all of HBO's catalog and play that up, but also bring all of that content, or maybe just the most popular content like Game of Thrones and Last of Us, into Netflix, so that when you're in Netflix, it's still Netflix without any HBO aisles or anything. There would be HBO branding when you play Game of Thrones, but Netflix is just like, here's all this great content. And if you just want HBO, you can get that separately as well.
I don't know, Tom. Let me throw this at you. If you go the Pillars route, then you get to go back in time and fix one of, Pillars. To my eyes, the biggest branding mistakes of HBO Max was just HBO, a prestige brand with a bunch of cheap garbage stapled to it and occasional breakout hits like Hacks. If all of that is underneath the Netflix umbrella, HBO Max doesn't have to be HBO plus the Friends back catalog stapled to it. Mm-hmm. Now HBO is just one of the pillars. And then whatever that Max content is another pillar, maybe a classics branded or what have you. But my point being, they get to get HBO back to its clean prestige brand if they clear off all the barnacles of all the extra stuff that comes in Max.
Yeah. Well, we will have 12 to 18 months to form our theories and refine them and listen to leaks as the process goes on and see if the antitrust moves gain more momentum than I think. But I think these things tend to end up not being as extreme as people fear. So I don't think it's going to shut down the window. In fact, it probably will have as much of an effect on Netflix theory of how to treat movies as it will have Netflix have more effect on theaters. They're going to suddenly see the value in the window because they're going to look at Warner Brothers books a little more closely. But it's going to be fun to ponder on.
Well, as a matter of fact, this is one of my favorite moments. We have a 12 to 18 month where everybody is invited to wildly speculate. And if this is Cord Killers, this is when I tell everyone to write us directly at cordkillers@gmail.com. But I guess we'll open the door to the DTNS audience and say, place your bets and we'll discuss them on the program.
Yeah. In fact, don't miss this week's Cord Killers that we'll be doing in next week on Tuesday, because that's where we're going to get our wild theories out. If you want that, check that out, cordkillers.com. Anything else to tell people about before I let you go,
you
Brian?
know what? We're in the middle of the holiday season, and by my goodness, we've threaded the stone needle. The perfect Christmas morning magic kit would be so easy a kid could open it and perform it 30 minutes later. It would have professional grade magic that looks good, and it would be absurdly cheap. Guess what's $20? It's the unreasonably good magic kit available right now at 110.scamstuff.com. That's because I'm offering 110% money back guarantee.
Check it out, folks. Thanks, Brian.
Ooh, I definitely need more Christmas gifts. So that sounds like a good one, Brian. But if you want a holiday gift for the DTNS lover in your fam or friends, we have mugs, pint glasses, posters, shirts, hoodies, and more with a DTNS logo, awesome Len Peralta holiday art, and more. Go over to dailytechnewsshow.com/store.
Are you liking your pint glass?
I love it. Thank you so much.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
To say thank you. I was waiting for when I next saw you to say thank you. So thank you, Tom.
No, I'm glad you're enjoying it. You and R.W. Nash are the biggest cheerleaders for the DTNS pint glass. dailytechnewsshow.com/store.
Hear that? It's holiday cheer arriving at Ulta Beauty with gifts for everyone on your list. Treat them to fan-favorite gift sets from Charlotte Tilbury and Peach and Lily. Go all out with timeless fragrances from YSL, Ariana Grande, and Carolina Herrera. And you can never go wrong with an Ulta Beauty gift card. Head to Ulta Beauty for gifts that make the holidays brighter and even more beautiful. Ulta Beauty. Gifting happens here.
If you're a smoker or vapor ready to make a change, you really only need one good reason. But with Zyn nicotine pouches, you'll discover many good reasons. Zyn is America's #1 nicotine pouch brand. Plus, Zyn offers a robust rewards program. There are lots of options when it comes to nicotine satisfaction, but there's only one Zyn. Check out zyn.com/find to find Zyn at a store near you. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
We end every episode of DTNS with some shared perspectives. Today, Seth has some thoughts on the chatbot race.
Yes, Seth writes, I got to stop with these AI subscriptions. Each one does something better than other things. Gemini 3 is rocking it right now. The image manipulation is incredible. I had a banner from a client for their site, and they didn't have the source file. I had to get rid of some text in it without messing up the rest of the image. Guess what? It did it perfectly. AI is definitely a help. I don't think it's going to take over yet, but maybe soon. Hey.
As a person in the tech industry, let me apologize in part, Seth, for the cavalcade of subscriptions. First, you're streaming, now for your AI subscriptions. We just can't seem to get away from subscriptions, but
it's a subscription world. We just pay for it monthly.
All right. Well, what are you thinking about? Is it about a cavalcade of subscriptions? Is it something else? Well, if you have insight, share it with us. feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com.
Thanks to Brian Brushwood and Seth for contributing to today's show. Thank you for being along for the show. You keep us in business, folks. Thanks to all the new patrons coming in at patreon.com/DTNS. Go join them. This week's episodes of Daily Tech News Show were created by the following people. Host, producer, and writer Tom Merritt. Host and writer Jason Howell. Co-host Sarah Lane. Co-host Rob Dunwood. Co-host Wen Tui Dao. Producer Anthony Lemos. Producer Roger Chang. Editor Hammond Chamberlain. Editor Victor Bognot. Contributing producers Kevin Tech, Noel Cow, and Brandon Richards. Science correspondent Dr. Nikki Ackermans. Social media producer and moderator Zoe Detterding. Our mods, Beatmaster, W. Scottus1, BioCow, Captain Kipper, Steve Guadarrama, Paul Reese, Gadget Virtuoso, and J.D. Galloway. Mod and video hosting by Dan Christensen. Music provided by Martin Bell and Dan Luters. Art by Len Peralta. Acast ad support from Tatiana Matias. Patreon support from Bobby Wagner. Our guests this week were Brian Brushwood, Mike the Policeman, Andy Beach, and thanks to all the patrons who make the show possible.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
I am a coach and an alum of Girls on the Run. Kids today carry a lot of stress, from school pressure to social isolation to overuse of devices. We create a space where girls can connect, build confidence, and learn skills like managing emotions, setting goals, and speaking up. Each child's experience is different, and families need support. I'm proud to be part of a comprehensive solution to youth mental health. Get involved today at EmpowerOurFutureCoalition.com.
If you're a smoker or vapor ready to make a change, you really only need one good reason. But with Zyn nicotine pouches, you'll discover many good reasons. Zyn is America's #1 nicotine pouch brand. Plus, Zyn offers a robust rewards program. There are lots of options when it comes to nicotine satisfaction, but there's only one Zyn. Check out zyn.com/find to find Zyn at a store near you. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.